Come back to me, my love.
The wheelchair sat at the edge of the hallway like a throne no one wanted. James Whitfield hadn't left the East Wing in 14 months. Not since the accident. Not since the surgeons used words like permanent and irreversible and looked at the floor when they said them. 62 years old. 3 companies, $400 million, and not one person in that house could make him feel like a human being anymore. The staff walked quietly, spoke carefully, treated him like something fragile that might shatter if they breathed wrong. Then one Tuesday morning, he heard something coming from the garden. A voice, singing. He hadn't heard singing in that house since Margaret died. He told himself not to look. He looked anyway. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us where you're watching from. James Whitfield had built things his whole life. At 23, he poured concrete on job sites with bleeding hands. At 31, he owned the company. By 50, Whitfield Construction had reshaped the skylines of 4 American cities. His name was on buildings, on hospital wings, on a scholarship fund that had put 200 kids through college. But that was before the highway, before the truck that ran the red light on a wet October night. Now, he sat in a house with 12 rooms he couldn't reach, staring at a garden he couldn't walk through, attended by people who were paid to pretend everything was fine. His daughter Claire called on Sundays, kept the calls short. His business partner, Roger, sent quarterly reports with handwritten notes that said, "We've got it handled, Jim." What they meant was, don't come back. The live-in staff rotated every few months. Nobody lasted. The last nurse quit after James threw a dinner tray across the room, not from rage, but from the unbearable pity in her eyes when she cut his steak for him. He didn't want pity. He wanted his legs back, and since no one could give him that, he wanted to be left alone. Then the agency sent Diane. Diane Carroll started at Whitfield Memorial the following spring. Within a year, she redesigned the patient intake process for the rehabilitation ward, the same ward where men like James were told words like permanent and irreversible. James returned to his board, part-time, on his terms. The rose garden bloomed every summer. Marcus graduated pre-med 4 years later. James sat in the front row. Nobody paid him to be there. Some people enter your life carrying shears, not to cut you down, but to clear away everything that stopped you from growing. Never confuse stillness with defeat. James called Diane into the East Wing the next morning. "The rose beds," he said. "I want them restored." Diane looked at him steadily. "I'm a maid, Mr. Whitfield." "I know what you are. I'm asking anyway." A pause. "I'll need supplies and time outside my regular hours." "You'll be compensated." She studied him for a moment. "Those roses come back, Mr. Whitfield. That's not for me. That's for whoever planted them. We do this right or we don't do it." James held her gaze. "We do it right." It started with pruning shears and a gardening book Diane ordered with her own money. She worked the beds every morning before her shift. Marcus came on Saturdays, quietly pulling weeds beside his mother, earbuds in, occasionally glancing toward the window where the man in the wheelchair watched without pretending not to. 3 weeks in, James started appearing in the garden doorway. Then the doorway became the stone path. The stone path became the grass. Gerald quietly ordered a terrain wheelchair without being asked. Diane never made it a moment, never applauded, just moved her supply bucket to give him room. One Saturday, Marcus handed James a trowel without a word. James took it. By the 6th week, the first roses opened, deep red, Margaret's variety. James looked at them for a long time. Then Diane heard something she hadn't expected. He laughed, soft, rusty, like a door opened after years of being sealed. Gerald ran the background check the agency had flagged but never forwarded. Diane Carroll, certified nursing aide, applied to 7 hospitals in 3 years. Rejected each time. One hiring manager's note simply read, "Overqualified for budget position, unlikely to stay." Gerald placed the file on James's desk without comment. James read it twice, then picked up the phone. He didn't call the hospitals. He called his attorney. The following Monday, Diane arrived to find a letter on the kitchen counter. She opened it slowly. It was an offer. Formal, specific. A funded position. Patient Dignity Coordinator at Whitfield Memorial Wing. Created that week. Salary 4 times her current wage. Marcus's medication covered under full family health benefits. Diane stood in the kitchen for a long time. When James rolled in, she didn't cry, didn't rush to thank him. She looked at him with clear eyes. "You didn't have to do this." "The roses came back," he said simply. "Felt like the right season." Diane Carroll started at Whitfield Memorial the following spring. Within a year, she redesigned the patient intake process for the rehabilitation ward, the same ward where men like James were told words like permanent and irreversible. James returned to his board. Part-time, on his terms. The rose garden bloomed every summer. Marcus graduated pre-med 4 years later. James sat in the front row. Nobody paid him to be there. Some people enter your life carrying shears, not to cut you down, but to clear away everything that stopped you from growing. Never confuse stillness with defeat.